Hi all, I am Oksana Pasichnyk. I am an online learning consultant at the European Learning Center, and also I am a computer science teacher from Lviv, Ukraine. I'd like to present our curriculum about the impact of artificial intelligence on society for primary school children. Today's topic is connecting technology and society, digital and human. We've heard that there are multiple challenges, multiple points of view, multiple stakeholders when we talk about AI in education. It might seem that primary school children are far from these topics, but honestly, they are the ones who are going to face them fully. We cannot let them be unprepared for the times of AI, and this has been the primary reason for creating this curriculum. It was developed within the project AI in STEM Education, carried out by European Learning Center and IRIM, Croatia, and funded by the EEA and Norway grants. This curriculum contains general approaches as well as some practical activities that teachers can use in their classrooms. I should note that any teacher can use it and not be intimidated by a possible lack of technical or programming skills. Our curriculum relies primarily on group discussions and unplugged activities that don't require any technology involvement. Also, there are some suggestions about some online resources that will engage our technologically savvy students. But the main focus is on conversations. Often there is a question, who is in charge of these topics? Who exactly is supposed to teach about technology, about human rights, about their interconnectedness, digital citizenship in general? And the next question, how can we prepare teachers to do that? I hope this curriculum will help you see that this is something relevant to everyone and that any teacher can have these conversations in their classes. We don't need much special terminology and can use just general awareness of today's technological landscape. Most of the examples are from our daily life, like recommendations we get from different digital services. And this is something most of us has encountered before, including our kids in a very young age. We came to a moment when the technology may feel overwhelming, threatening, and disrupting. But instead of avoiding it, refusing to incorporate or banning it at all, we should try to understand how it works. I hope the proposed curriculum would be a good starting point to get yourself acquainted with the mechanics of how AI works, without getting too deep into technical or programming skills. I'd really love it to be used by teachers to first educate themselves and then help their students explore this topic. It is like with the airplane announcement about the oxygen masks. Put the mask first on you and then assess the child. We need to make sure that we are comfortable with the material before opening conversation with a class of kids. So while the activities are designed for primary school children, it is not a textbook for them. It is rather a guide for teachers to equip them with ideas. Also, I think it's neither the first nor the last challenge of controversy that we face in education. It would be very useful to learn to face those challenges without extremes. It is good to remember, with every emerging technology, what our job as educators is, and allow yourself to see beyond the immediate and visible outcomes, and be open for new opportunities for learning. While we touch on the technological topics, I'd like to stress that this curriculum is way more about humans, society, and citizenship, rather than coding or digital literacy or ICT practice. Therefore, the focus is on interactive discussions. And we also suggest some activities with real-life objects, because kids love and actually need real-life objects to understand more abstract notions. We propose the following process of learning. First, kids get the chance to observe some suggested phenomenon or situation, think about it, and share their ideas in small groups. Then it's time to discuss in a larger group and, very important, reflect on the topic. This way of structuring discussion allows students to have a chance to think, both individually, but also engage in communication with their peers. They will build their oral skills and improve listening comprehension. It's a great way to practice critical thinking by filtering information drawing conclusions, and comparing different points of view. While doing that, we need to keep in mind and practice the principles of the competences for democratic culture. For example, this would be a perfect opportunity to practice listening and observing. As the ideas tend to have some accents of controversy, students will need to communicate their thoughts with respect and empathy. Many questions would not have a single correct answer, building the skill of tolerance of ambiguity, flexibility, and adaptability. And while we're discussing societal issues, there is a space to emphasize the civic-minded attitude. At the European Vergland Center, we specialize in education for democracy and human rights. And that's why we couldn't miss the opportunity to highlight these competences for democratic culture. One might wonder what kind of AI topics might be relevant, engaging, and educational for young learners. Students usually love exploring and learning how stuff works. It's their usual question in primary school. So we prepared a list of proposed activities, which basically represent different steps of AI functioning. To put it simply, machines learn from provided examples to recognize patterns, distinguish objects, categorize them, and create predictions or suggestions based on observed trends. It's always good to start with checking what students already know about the topic. Even small kids have heard about artificial intelligence, self-driving cars, and have seen suggestions while browsing the web. They probably have used voice typing and tried asking questions to Alexa, Siri, or OK Google. They can share how they understand how this technology works. Maybe they think there's someone actually writing the suggestions or secretly driving the car. But when we agree that there is something else behind the scene, we might wonder what's needed to actually make these decisions. Probably it's some data from the outside world. It can be provided by different sensors or also gathered from people's actions. This conversation is very relevant today on the Safer Internet Day, as all our actions online produce digital footprints, basically pieces of data that can be further used in different algorithms. After getting the initial data, it needs to be sorted out, grouped into categories to spot any pattern. This exercise, spot the similarities, group the objects, name the categories, is actually a typical exercise kids in the primary school are doing almost daily. We propose a number of activities on that, including sorting the geometrical shapes and sorting the pasta, which can be done with real pasta, of course. But in our case, we take it one step further to explain where this categorization or pattern recognition is used. It is actually the basis of AI algorithms. They identify patterns in data and apply the same algorithm to recognize new, unfamiliar objects. Of course, the algorithms themselves are quite complex and definitely need not to be taught at this age level. But it is important to understand that the final result is very dependent on the initial data. If the data is bad or biased, then the algorithm will just follow the wrong pattern. It cannot magically solve the problem. It is just continuing to apply the same rule that it has learned from our data. It is not technically creating something new. It is rather generating something similar. It is important to make that clear, especially when we see apps like ChatGPT, which claim to produce original content. We'll be forced to review how and what we teach and how we approach quizzing, grading, and overall assessment. For educators, it is a very obvious example of the potential impact that AI can have on a given area. But really, the impact on anywhere else would be on the same scale and maybe even more. This is why we need to be ready for these conversations, for these dilemmas. Today's students are going to live in the world full of AI. They should know how to deal with it, how to use it to most advantage. In order to do this, we need to demystify this black box and demonstrate how it functions. Better understanding leads to informed choices, including the ones which involve, for instance, homework and learning in general. I believe that bans that are now introduced in some schools will not be a suitable solution. We should rather aim at teaching to critically assess everything produced by AI or not. We need a solid base to check if the output is correct and relevant, or is it only similar to that? Students need to be equipped to handle misinformation and disinformation, regardless of its origin. And understanding how AI is producing the output, a proposed decision, should help seeing it as a suggestion, not a ready-to-use without verification solution. And the final point, technologies change, and probably there would be some other innovations with mixed reception. I'd like our students to be ready to critically meet those emerging solutions. And while being open for their benefits, also be aware of possible negative implications. It's a skill they are going to use a lot in these dynamic times. And we'd want them to be critical consumers of technology, but also critical creators of it. While I many times said it's not necessary to have a technological background to cover this curriculum, it would be absolutely beneficial to have it aligned with some hands-on activities, like the ones suggested in our joint project, AI in STEM Education. Students then get practical skills to work with some robotic equipment. And they complement their digital competence with competences for democratic culture. That's the core of digital citizenship, comprising the values, attitudes, skills with knowledge and critical understanding necessary to responsibly navigate the constantly evolving digital world. And to shape technology to meet our own needs rather than be shaped by it. If you're interested in learning more about the concept of digital citizenship, please refer to the European Vergland Center online learning platform. There you'll find a course on digital citizenship education and soon some more materials on this topic. Thank you for your attention, and I hope our materials will provide some ideas about how to include conversations about the impact of AI on society into your teaching.